That's wonderful. So welcome everyone. This is Cate, and this is her Hour of Miracles. And I'm going to be sharing today. First of all, I just want to drop into a prayer. And I usually start my groups off with a prayer around a prayer to the Holy Spirit, and then a prayer from the back of the book in the lessons. So let's just start with a prayer to the Holy Spirit, just so that we get into the habit. See, Rules for Decisions talks about these habits of putting the Holy Spirit in charge. So any habit that you can form that just puts the Holy Spirit in charge, it's really helpful. So Holy Spirit, you be in charge. You be in charge of my words today. You be in charge of how I respond to all situations. I invite you in to be in my mind, to be the one that chooses for me until the time when you are wholly my mind and you are completely making all decisions, and I will be at that stage where I never choose the ego. So I never decide for myself, and there will come a time where that is my experience. So for now, until that is my experience, my practicing here is to constantly invite you to be the mind that chooses for God for me. So, Amen. And I'm going to read a prayer from the back of the book, which is the prayers after lesson 220. So from 220 to 365, it's sort of like the third section of the course in miracles. I call them the prayers because they really anchor you in the truth. So they're like the first sections of the Course in Miracles are around all the lessons are around bringing your mind to seeing something differently. And then the last section, about the third of A Course in Miracles lessons, are about calling out for God, just this calling from your heart to God. So this is where those beautiful lessons are, where we're just calling to God to come to us. So this is, I've just opened it randomly on lesson 333. Forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here. Conflict must be resolved. It cannot be evaded, set aside, denied, disguised, seen somewhere else, called by another name, or hidden by deceit of any kind, if it would be escaped. It must be seen exactly as it is, where it is thought to be, in the reality which has been given it, and with the purpose that the mind accorded it. For only then are its defences lifted, and the truth can shine upon it as it disappears. So this is I'm really glad that this lesson, this prayer was open, because actually that's been one that I've opened to a couple of times in the last few months. And this is such an important, if we can really anchor our minds into, when we read the Course in Miracles, that this is Jesus talking directly to us, it's going to sort of bring you a lot more help if you can just say, imagine Jesus sitting there. If you've ever thought, I wish Jesus could appear to me and help me. If you've ever called to him, you've got his words here. So you can imagine him sitting there speaking these words to you. So as you read them, just really anchor your mind firstly that forgiveness ends the dream of conflict here. So this is a dream of conflict, and this forgiveness is going to end this dream. You're going to wake up from the dream. You're going to wake up to reality and truth. And he's giving us a really good pointer here. Conflict must be resolved. It says here, this is lesson 333, it cannot be evaded, set aside, denied, disguised, seen somewhere else, called by another name, or hidden by deceit of any kind, if it would be escaped. So we want to escape conflict, and Jesus is giving us a way out. Now, I've never had such a direct teaching than the Course in Miracles. It may be difficult at times to understand as your mind's getting mind trained away from its ego thinking to Christ-based thinking. But this is the direct teaching from Jesus. So years ago, people used to go to India and go to an ashram and sit at the feet of a teacher. We're sitting at the feet of a teacher when we're reading this book. We're literally sitting at Jesus's feet, and imagine you sitting at the feet of Jesus, and this is what he's saying. And imagine him sitting there, and I mean, I'm just sort of saying the Christ, to just clarify a little bit, the Christ mind was in a body that we called Jesus, or Yeshua, or whatever you want to call it. Names really aren't important. But just to know that a mind awakened here to truth and was able to send this wisdom down to us so that we can awaken from this dream of separation, so that we can be free of our conflicting mind, the perception that we completely asleep in this world. And this sleeping, what we think is totally real here is a dream. It has no validity, and there's one way out, and we have to go out. We awaken from this dream in a certain way, and we have to follow the instructions. It's the only way out. So when we read here in this little lesson that conflict, it says here, it must be seen exactly as it is, where it is thought to be in the reality which has been given it, and with the purpose that the mind accorded it. So we have to look at our conflict. This is such an important part of the course. It has to be resolved. It can't be denied, evaded. You can't drink yourself alcoholically into oblivion each night to get rid of conflict. You can't continue to change jobs to get rid of conflict. You can't leave your family and go and live in a spiritual community to evade conflict. None of these issues work. You may be that some of those situations may be helpful in you applying this, but Jesus never ever says that we need to change anything in form to be free of conflict. You can be exactly where you are in the situation with the family and whoever around you and be free of conflict and have the peace of God. I'm not saying that you shouldn't or should do anything. I'm just saying that Jesus never tells us to leave any situations to be free of conflict. He asks us to go within and join with the Holy Spirit to shift to get those grievances and fears shifted. And he asks us that conflict has to be resolved. We can't deny it. So when we're in conflict, we have to sit quietly and ask for help. We have to ask the Holy Spirit. I'm in conflict. I have to admit first, I'm in conflict. I'm upset. I'm not at peace. And then ask for, help me see this differently. Holy Spirit, please help me. I beg you to help me see this differently. I'm in conflict and I don't want to be in conflict. I'm sick and tired of being in conflict. I'm sick and tired of the way I'm pulled around by this ego mind. You know, you can just really, you don't have to spiritualize your prayers and the way you talk to the Holy Spirit or Jesus. Just talk very openly and talk to Jesus as if he's a friend. And you can just say, I'm really tired of this. It's not working for me. I want the peace of God. I want you to help me. I want the conflict resolved. Please help me. And then in that moment, that's your job. Your job is to call out and ask for help. That's your only job. And that's it. You've done your job then. So that's all you need to do, is notice that you're in conflict and call for help. And then it's your desire to be free of that conflict, your desire for peace that brings the truth to your mind. And as you sit quietly, you might find that something from the Course enters your mind, some little prayer, or you might feel guided to call someone or to do a little bit inquiry, or you might just feel guided to just randomly open the Course in Miracles at some page and read something. All these things, you might be guided to get on YouTube and watch something that's going to be helpful. So don't disregard what comes into your mind after that. And as you start practicing this forgiveness is what I've just said. Forgiveness is help me shift, help me see this person or situation differently. That's forgiveness. And the Holy Spirit will say, please overlook anything that you're saying, the body's words, the body's actions, please overlook them. That's what you've put. That's it. He'll show you the meaning you've put on things. He'll illuminate your mind. When I say he, it's not a he or she. The Holy Spirit is your right mind, and it's like you've got a teacher in your mind that's going to teach you. It's going to teach you how to see clearly. It's going to teach you how to see this situation. It's going to, I love the word illuminate, because it's like when you're at school and the teacher is teaching you how to, say, do maths or learn a language. This is our Holy Spirit teacher in our mind. But this teacher will only be activated when we ask. We have to sit quietly and ask for help. And, there probably comes times when you get down on your hands and knees and you're crying, asking for help. And these are the few times that I came to the Holy Spirit, because things can seem like quite scary at times. That's just the ego ramping up, getting vicious in your mind. And you think everything's going to be lost, but we're going to we have to embrace these teachings, all of them. And we can't judge our advances from our retreats. So what we think as retreats are actually advances. And that's interesting, isn't it? These are such two really important teachings for you if you're feeling a bit, if you're following the Course in Miracles lessons and you're studying the text. Two of the things that I found the most helpful was to remember that I couldn't judge my advances from my retreats, and also to the teaching that he says doubt will come, to go, to come back, to go, and then come back, and then go, and then come back. So what he's telling us is that doubt is going to come and go and come and go. And it's always, and so when doubt comes into your mind and you're having a doubtful day and you're feeling off and you feel like, I don't know what this Holy Spirit is. I think I need to decide for myself, which is actually deciding for the ego. Because you actually have no self to decide with. You are always deciding with the ego if you're not deciding with the Holy Spirit. You've only ever got two choices. So when we decide, we say, I'm going to decide with myself. I'm not going to ask the Holy Spirit. I can't put the Holy Spirit in charge of my finances or selling my house or what job I need. I can't trust the Holy Spirit to do that. When you say that to yourself, you're asking the ego by default. So it's really another important thing to remember, that you're asking a thought system that doesn't know where your happiness lies. So the Holy Spirit knows where you need to be. And the other thing to remember is that when you're guided to, say, a job or to live with someone, or, a lot of people follow guidance and they think, I met this person and the Holy Spirit guided me to live with them. It's very easy to think that the Holy Spirit is guiding you into this, it's just going to be beautiful because I was guided to live with this person. No, the Holy Spirit's going to guide you into a relationship where anything that hasn't been healed in your mind is going to be brought up. So it's very, very, very important to remember that every situation, everything is happening for my good, except in the ego's judgment. So to think, if you think, I'm being guided to live with this person and it's all going to be rosy and beautiful, what happens is that then you've asked the Holy Spirit, where would you have me be and what would you have me say? So you've asked the Holy Spirit to direct you where to go and what to say. And then the ego's come in and said, yes, and from that guidance, I'm just going to get everything I want from this person. This person's just going to love me completely. So it's still looking outside for love. It still thinks this person, this other body, is going to supply love. So in truth, but when we give our whole life over to the Holy Spirit or God, what happens is we come from a knowing that it's not possible to get love from another body in this world. It's not possible. It's and that can take it can be a little bit disheartening when you actually realise that. But it also, on the other side, is it can actually be joyful because you give up the seeking for love here. So I've seen a few of my students really struggle with this one, and I struggled with it as well because the Holy Spirit was teaching me this teaching, and then finally it dawned on my mind. There's absolutely nothing you can get here from another body. Your whole purpose here is to extend love, and that's it. Your whole function here is to be the love. Allow the love of God to flow through your communication device, which is your words and your body. That's your function here. And prior to that, your function is forgiveness and the miracles of forgiveness. So the miracle is the result of practicing forgiveness. So I'll just read a comment here by someone here. It says, my experience has been that even when you follow guidance exactly, there will be serious challenges that can pop up. Perfect example is Jesus, the following a guidance led to the cross. So that's exactly, thanks for that message, because that is actually, that's what I was pointing to, that when you follow your guidance, you're being guided into, you might be guided to a new job, and that guidance is going to help you get the next challenge, which is the next part. So when, say you go to a new job, I was guided into a job which was really highly unusual for me a few years ago, to be guided back into a job, and it felt like yes to go there. And then in that job was a very angry owner of the business, and the Spirit said, yes, this is your last, one of your last lessons to learn. You need to completely overcome the idea of anger. So he put me in a job with what seemed to be an extremely angry person in that thing. So we have to remember that when we're guided somewhere, it's not going to be for what the ego thinks that when we go somewhere we're going to get this happiness. But when we're guided with the guidance of the Holy Spirit, in my experience, it's been to show me where I've got something else that needs releasing and seeing clearly. And also he'll guide me to people that need to be heard. So in another function where I'm just present, listening, holding space, and maybe sharing some wisdom from the Course. So we have a dual function here, where he talks about it in the early chapters of the Course in Miracles. He talks about being under Christ's guidance and Christ's control. So Christ's guidance is when say I was directed to that job where I had the angry boss, and he guided me very clearly and very interestingly. He guided my mind away from believing in anger, and the whole belief that anger was scary, and I used to run away from angry men or angry people or anything to do with anger. He put me in a situation where my next level of teaching was coming in, so I was being guided. So it's really important to remember that the guidance of the Holy Spirit is to awaken you. And so we're joining with the Holy Spirit to awaken. So his job is to bring us into situations where we're going to be confronting what's in our minds. Everything in our life here is going to be used to awaken us. It's repurposed. The ego's purpose of everything in our life is to seek for love and these desires and this getting. The ego always looks out and what can I get from this? And if it can't get anything, it discards it. So we go from like relationship to relationship and see that we can't get what the ego's love and needs are fulfilled, and maybe even jobs. We go into jobs and we say, right, I'm going to get my boss to really like me. I'm going to be seen. I'm going to be acknowledged for, all the wisdom and all the amazing intellectual stuff that I know about this particular area of the dream. And so the ego uses jobs to get things. It's always seeking for us to get into these situations to get something. It might even to get a lot of money, because that would be coming from lack if you're out to get something. So he repurposes, and then when you say, Holy Spirit, above all else, I want to awaken to the peace of God, he then will take you into many, many situations where he knows what's left in your mind. He knows what's in your mind that needs to heal. Now, I'll just read the next comment. Not believing in anger. Oh my God, that's so helpful. We have a new angry apartment manager. I tend to run from anger, so that's helpful. So just so you know, I'll just call you R. Her lady's name starting with R. Just so you know, I'll just give you a little bit of what was shown to me. It might help you deal with anger. Just a moment. I've shared about this in a few of my earlier videos. I think I've been doing videos on and off now for nearly 2 years. Hi there. Okay, so I'm just going to share a little bit about anger and what the Holy Spirit, how the Holy Spirit trained me out of having any perception of anger. So I could never perceive anger again. But I'll first give you a little bit of background as to the extent of the suffering that I had from believing in anger, or that I could be hurt from anger. So the relationship prior to me really coming fully embracing the Course in Miracles teachings as Jesus teaching me, and coming to a state where I wanted the peace of God, my last relationship with someone was that he was very, very angry all the time, and I reacted so badly. Now, it's not me, although I'm going to say me, it's the ego, because I was in my wrong mind. I perceived anger as threatening and that it could hurt me. I didn't even would say, oh my God, I'm perceiving this as this or that. All I did was, when the person in front of me displayed anger, I would completely, my mind would shut down in fear, completely be overwhelmed with fear, and I would literally go over, get my car keys, walk to the car, get in and drive away. It was like someone was after me, ready to attack me. I felt like it was like a bear coming after me. That's how I felt about anger. So, as I said, when the Holy Spirit knows what needs to be healed in your mind. So I was put in this job, and I'd had a lot of my mind healed by that stage. A lot of beliefs and things had gone, so my mind was quite peaceful. And so I just constantly say to the Holy Spirit, you show me where I've got any beliefs, any concepts, show me what needs to be healed. So I'm in my mind training course with the Holy Spirit and Jesus. I'm the student. I'm not telling them. I'm completely resigned as my own teacher. So I say to the Holy Spirit, you show me what is in my mind that needs to be healed next. So we're walking this path together. And I was, as I said, I was called up about a job. And I felt a yes coming through, and it wasn't about money or needing a job or anything else. It was okay, I'm going to get my next lesson here, which I don't know what it is. And then all of a sudden this boss appeared, and he was angry. And I remember, so I was the assistant to the manager that worked for this, I'll just call him the boss. And so this lady that was the manager, she was going on holidays, and she employed me for a couple of months to train me up in her job. And I used to work as an accountant / finance management role. And so when I moved she went away for, I think, about 2 weeks. And prior to that, I had just seen him angry in the office, and I was observing him, and the Holy Spirit was saying, now look, are you feeling threatened? Are you feeling any fear from this? And at that particular time, no, it was like everything was fine, everything was good. I wasn't feeling any fear in my mind, because, as I said, I'd been doing a lot of mind training at that stage. Then I was sitting at her desk doing her job, and he came in one day, and he was probably in the worst mood, and he just started yelling at everyone. And we had a little area upstairs that You could talk from the downstairs floor to the it was like a mezzanine area where a few people were at their desks. And he was literally screaming at them. He was so angry. And then he turned around to me and he said something. I can't even remember what he said. And in that moment, I had a reaction. And then he said a few things to a few other people and then he left. And I sat there and I went, great. The Holy Spirit's put me here because he knows that a really, really angry person can trigger me. And so I hadn't healed anger completely. So I said to the Holy Spirit, right, I got triggered. And I said, can you please help me see this differently? So the Holy Spirit said, if you went to see a show like an opera and you were sitting in the audience and you were watching on stage an opera singer and he was singing really loudly and he was, you know, singing at the top of his voice and, you know, rah, 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 you know, maybe even in Latin. You know, you see those opera singers and they sing in another language and a lot of the time you don't know actually what they're saying. But, you know, my mum used to take me to Gilbert and Sullivan when I was younger, so I was sort of reminded of that by the Holy Spirit and said, can you see yourself? Can you so this is someone speaking loudly. He said, so when you're at an opera and someone is like singing really, so I was looking at a man on a stage singing really loudly. He said, that is what you're looking at when you're looking at a man in the office being angry. He said, and everything else is the meaning you've given it. Because you're just, that's all it is loud, a loud voice. And when you're at the opera, you're enjoying that loud voice. So anger is literally the meaning we're putting on a loud voice. And that's why when we go and maybe if you like rock and roll or somebody, you know, like if you're right into music and you like somebody screaming into a microphone and yeah, you're dancing away, they're literally, it's just a loud voice coming out of the body. It's just a voice. It's just words and a voice and they're loud. So he showed me it differently. It was actually all the meaning got taken away in my mind and I just saw him again come in my mind. He showed me that he walked into the office and maybe he even like sang an opera to everyone and he went, oh, la, 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 la. Sorry, God. That's why we laugh when we get the seeing of it. So what happened, I'll just explain why I was able to see this differently, was because the Holy Spirit said, if you put a meaning on a loud voice, which is anger, and a red face, so his face went red and he went, rah, 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 you know, rah, 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 blah, 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 blah. He said, the reason why your mind got fearful was because you thought you could be attacked by a loud voice. So can you imagine sitting at an opera and someone singing loud and you're going, stop, you're attacking me. Oh, I'm being attacked. I'm being attacked by those words. Oh, that loud voice is attacking me. That's really what you're saying. So what happens, the Holy Spirit used a lot of humour in my teachings, and I share a lot of this to my groups. When I do a group on a Tuesday, and I just think I'm just going to mute. No, I think there's someone that's got their microphone on. Might be the AT radio. Just wanted to let you know that your microphone's on. I can hear some background noise if you're listening in, and I can't mute you. Let me see, because I don't think I've got the ability to mute you. AT radio computer. Okay, thank you. Just thought I'd let you know you. All right, let's mute it. So getting back to how we get undone and unwound from the meanings we put on everything, because lesson 2, I've given everything all the meaning it has for me, is really the key to A Course in Miracles. It's the key that opens up. If you can focus on that one and look at every time I'm upset, I've given a meaning to something, but I'm not going to know the meaning. I can understand that Jesus is telling me that, but how I'm going to know the meaning is I just say, look, I can't see what meaning I've put on it. He's not asking us to know these things. He's asking us to come to him, resign as our own teachers and say, okay, I'm upset. I'm seeing anger. I'm getting upset. I want to run away, which was my past history. The ego was like, oh, look, that's attacking you, you know, that loud voice and that seemingly angry face, but it's actually just an expression. So I could go like that, and I'm feel attacked by the face going like that. So it's, can you see, like maybe if I do an angry face, I go. So do you feel attacked now by that face, that expression? If you looking at is that an angry face? So if you're sitting there laughing, which I hope you are, you're not feeling attacked by that facial expression. If I was to speak really loudly now, if I was to say that, are you feeling attacked? Okay. So if you don't feel attacked by my eyes crinkling up and my face going like this, and if you don't feel attacked by my voice going higher or lower, right? If you, right? So if you see an angry person now and you will watch their face going, arr, arr, and you hear their voice, arr, arr, you hear that? Okay, that's all the facts are. The facts are, right? The face crinkles up, the face goes red, the voice comes out maybe whingy or whatever. And then, so that's all that's happening. That's what's happening. You're looking at a body doing something, and everything else is the meaning you're given it. And the Holy Spirit says, okay, can you be attacked by an expression on a face? Can you be attacked by a loud speaking voice? And so you can be washed away from this idea that anger can hurt you, right? Now, there might be other things hiding in your mind, other meanings that you've given things. Now, what happens is if someone's angry and you get triggered, it could be that they trigger some guilt about something else, and that might be your next level. Okay, oh, look, I'm guilty because he got angry that I didn't put the bin out, or I didn't make his dinner. He came home and he didn't have any dinner, or maybe my boss said something about, maybe I can't remember what he said to me, but he said something that triggered me, but it was just useful. I wasn't in that job long because I got healed of my belief in anger, and I didn't even know I still had it. I thought I'd pretty much gone past it. But the Holy Spirit said, no, you've still got a belief in anger. I need to show you where it is. So I'm going to take you to this job. I'm going to put you in front of probably one of the angriest bosses you can find. So we got to start to see everything's repurposed in this world. It's all about, here you go, here you're taken to see what's left in your mind. And so then, say for example, I had a belief that I couldn't get my work done fast enough, and he said something about, oh, you haven't done this and you haven't done that, and he's all angry. Then the next thing, the guilt gets triggered. And so what happens is then it'd be, okay, my guilt's been triggered. This is a good thing. So as we call them, they're forgiveness opportunities. It's not to deny. It's not like, oh, I want to be in a job that's making me really happy. So, so Ara says, oh, that's so helpful. Yeah, triggers guilt. Fairly, of course. Guilt's at the bottom of everything. We have to really come to see this journey. We have to can shift our mind completely around and say every situation is a lesson, is my teaching. Here I am in my classroom today. I'm going to my Christmas party as a classroom. Oh, yeah, yes, of course. Must be my fault somehow. It's never what it is. So if you get triggered by that it's your fault, you need to, the only answer to that is bring it to the Holy Spirit. Just say, help me see this differently. It's whatever is your trigger is in your mind. And what happens with all these ideas, it's my fault, that brings in a sense of a self. Like I'm just going to talk from a higher perspective here, because it wasn't until I got completely free of all of these beliefs and concepts that my mind awakened to the truth, and I saw, oh my God, the whole self is contained in the belief and concepts. And, you know, it's my fault. It keeps the my going. Thanks, Sharon. Love you too. So we're going on this, we're repurposing the whole world as my classroom. So my Christmas party is my classroom. So I'm going to my family Christmas party, my work Christmas party. I'm going there to say, bring on the triggers. Help me. I want to awaken. I'm not going to awaken if I don't release the triggers. So first of all, I need to know what's left in my mind, what's keeping me from peace. So the Holy Spirit's in charge, and so he's going to take you. So when you go to your Christmas party, you might see someone, you know, your uncle or your sister or brother or your parents, and go, oh, I want to avoid them. And the Holy Spirit's like, no, go there. You want to avoid something. He just says in this lesson 3.3, conflict can't be resolved by avoiding it or disguising it. The ego says, oh no, get away from them. No. Happiness is over here where you're not talking to that person. The Holy Spirit says, no, go there. I'm going to teach you that you can't be affected by anything this person says or does. And this is your lesson. So say you've got a resistance to your mother who gets drunk at Christmas, and you get there and you're like, oh no, she's drunk. Got to get away. Not speaking to her. I don't like it when she's drunk. The Holy Spirit might say, okay, time for your lesson. Can you be affected by someone that's drunk? What's drunk? Okay, let's go over there. So you're led over and talk to your mother that's seemingly drunk, and you'll just sit there, and the Holy Spirit will say, now, see the Holy Son of God in her. Overlook anything coming from the body, coming from the words. I want you to see her clearly. I'm cleaning your mind from the idea that the Holy Son of God can be anything but its beautiful self. I want you to practice. This is your practice. Anything that you're avoiding, I'm going to use for practicing. So we start to give our whole life over to practicing, or to seeing, what am I avoiding? What am I running away from? Why don't I want to go? And I've actually, this teaching is so apparent to me that this is what the Course in Miracles is saying. And I've met people that have studied the Course for 20, much longer than I have. I've studied it for about 20 years, but seemingly many, many more years than I have, and that have come to me and said, oh no, I don't like my brother, what he does at Christmas, and you know, my parents have this Christmas gathering every year, and I don't like my brother and what he does and how he buys presents and blah 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 blah. I'm not going to Christmas. And I'm like, I'm always amazed at how Course in Miracles students don't understand that this is your classroom. Your classroom is anything that you don't want, that anything on anyone that you're upset over, that you're annoyed about, that you're irritated about. That's everything is like, if you want the peace of God, you have to have the Holy Spirit or Jesus look with you at why you're upset, why you're irritated. You can't avoid it. And I'm really glad that this lesson 333 was picked for me today, because I feel like I'm really sharing. I didn't know what I was going to do today. I had no idea when I came on. I was just so I just want to check the chats to see if there's anything more. Yes, so no, there's no more messages here. So if you do want to ask a question, the people that are on the live feed here, you can ask a question in the chat. It could be helpful. It's helpful for everyone if you feel that you want to ask anything further based around this. It'd be good if we could stick with this topic of anger and guilt and this sort of thing. So yeah, I'm just going to have a sip of my coffee. So this is your spiritual path. Your spiritual path is your life. It is the people around you, your friends, your family, anything that happens to you, everywhere you go, the person that cuts you off when you're driving along, that's your spiritual practice. Your spiritual practice is 24/7. It's your partner, your wife, your husband, your children, your parents. Any time that you're resisting something, they're upset, they're irritated, you don't like something, that's your lesson right in front of you. Hey, here it is. Here's something in my mind that's resisting what is. Yay. So rather than go, oh, I don't want to look, oh, I want to look away from that. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, I don't like my brother at Christmas time when he spends thousands of dollars on his children's presents. It's a waste. Great. I've now become aware that I have a belief that you can overspend at Christmas, that you can waste money, that you can spoil children. Oh, look at my beliefs. Okay. Rayla, can you type in your question, please? Or are you feeling that you might like to speak your question, Rayla? You can, I'll just unmute you if you like, or you can unmute yourself actually, and you can speak it if you'd like to do that.
Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Oh, good. Thank you for letting me speak it, because I can't type that fast.
Okay, no problem.
This is so extremely helpful to me, because you brought up so much, not only the angry apartment manager that we have here, but my daughter is mentally ill, and she just recently went through like a 6-week manic episode where she was extremely violent. And it stressed me to no end. I was falling apart in a serious way. And so everything that you have said tonight has just shed a new light on that. That's my lesson. That's for me to see what's triggering me. Oh my God, thank you so much. And when I typed into you, somehow this is my fault, I realized as I typed that, oh my goodness, that's how I feel when my daughter has a manic episode and she's falling apart and she's being violent. I feel like somehow this is my fault, you know? And so please tell me again, because I think you answered it, but I lost it already. How do you get away from this is my fault?
Okay, this is really good that you've asked this question, and I'm hoping this gets recorded onto the recording, what you've said, but I'll just, because I'm not sure about this recording, but I'm just going to quickly summarise, Rayla, what you've said, or what you've asked me. Now, it's really to say that when your daughter seemingly had a mental illness breakdown, you perceived it to be your fault, and how do you shift that? So if you come to see that the ego uses guilt, everything, it will constantly commentate on how when you go through this life, it commentates, and it always tells you that you stuffed up somehow in the past. And what happens is, and I've got children, and so I know this, I'm speaking from experience in using the Holy Spirit and Jesus as guidance to help me shift away. So my daughter had some things happen to her, and she got extremely angry at times, and she would come to me and say, it's all your fault. You were a terrible mother. I blame you for everything that's wrong with me in my life. So her ego was getting extreme at that stage, and I took it on. I took that on because I had the ego running the script of the guilt in my mind, saying it, and then it went back into the past, and it said, you know, those days when you were depressed and you couldn't get up and make her lunch for school, and the weekends maybe when you were, you know, sitting quietly when you didn't want to interact with her because you were feeling so depressed. It would go into the past, and it calls them the hungry dogs in your mind. The ego uses the hungry dogs. In other words, your mind goes back into your past, and it finds all the things that you think you did wrong, and it brings it into the present, and it says, now this is why your daughter is like this, because of all the things you did. So your ego in your mind is using guilt. And so what happens is, when you feel guilty, you react to the situation or the person. I'm just going to check the time. Oh, we're running out a little bit of time, but I'll try to wrap this up. But I have done, last week I did a whole talk on how to react to anyone that has got mental illness, eating disorder, drug addiction, whatever, particularly for this. Oh, okay. So Regina's just said I can just keep sharing until I feel like I've answered this. So, what happens is the guilt of the guilt of the ego runs in your mind, and so what happens is, because when you feel guilty, you want to run away from your child. You want to get rid of it. You want to stop it. And because it's so painful to feel that guilt coming up again. So what I noticed was how I wanted to put my daughter into rehab. I wanted to put her somewhere. I wanted to get her somewhere so she'd stop confronting me. So what she was really doing was the outward picturing of an inward condition of guilt. So she was coming to me and saying, you know, she was amplifying the guilt in my mind. And the ego says, this is awful, we need to stop this. So you'll probably find that part of your mind wants to get rid of her, and part of your mind then feels even more guilty at that, and it says, no, I need to help her. So your mind's in conflict. It's actually really, really painful being in conflict about these sort of things. So the ego says, get rid of her, we don't want her here because she's amplifying my guilt. And then the ego also says, you're a really bad mother because you want to get rid of her. So it gives you the solution, which is to get rid of her, get her out of your life, put her in where, do this, do that. Just get her out, get her changed somehow. And then it uses that against you. So your ego's never your friend. It's always going to be giving you a solution that won't work, and then telling you that when you choose that, it's going to make you feel bad. So it's important to really see what's going on. The best thing around this is to see the teaching is that you are guiltless. You are absolutely guiltless. You're sinless, you're guiltless, you're whole, and you're perfect. And you've never ever done anything wrong. Now, what's happened in the past, the Holy Spirit showed me that any time in the past when I was depressed and I couldn't get up and do what the good mother does, because the ego holds out what a good mother is, and it gives us a whole big picture of what a good mother is, and then constantly will tell us we're failing. And if you ask any mother, the ego will always tell you you're failing at everything. That's its purpose. Its whole thought system is that you're not good enough, that you're failing, and it'll show you constantly a picture of other mothers that are good, and it'll show you where you failed. So the only way out of this thought system is the truth, which is you were in your ego mind. The reason why I couldn't get up in the morning to help my daughter get off to school some days was because I was suffering from the ego. And the only way out is the truth, who you truly are. Now, when you're coming to see your daughter, now mental illness is only the ego, and it's really good to be really clear. Do not believe that your daughter is special with her mental illness, that she's got a particular mental illness that's harder to shift. And this is the first miracle principle, is there's no order of difficulties in miracles. You as a miracle worker, when you see her clearly, when you respond without guilt, now you will not respond to her clearly while you've got guilt in your mind. That's why you need to have that guilt shifted. You need to ask the Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. So we need to say that the only reason why we were never purely and openly loving and seeing our children clearly was we were under the effect of the ego. And we just have to say, okay, I was under the effect of the ego and I choose differently now. So I choose the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit's telling me that I am internally innocent and that I was created innocent. And in that, I come to know who I am, and I see my child for who they are, and I respond to them. And that's the only way I can help that child, because every single person around your child is going to be seeing a problem to be fixed. And we're asked to not see a problem, we're asked to see the person as the innocent, beautiful, holy Son of God, the Christ, the awareness, the perfect oneness, the perfection, beauty, the magnificent, the guiltlessness, who they truly are. However that is that you can get that in your mind and bring that to your child. Now, on the level of form, you'll be speaking to your child. You might need for them to take some medication. And that's the healing of your mind. And this is a practice. It's not going to come easy. You're going to fall off the wagon. You're going to react from your ego to their ego. Your practice is to constantly overlook anything that they do or say and be the one person in their life that sees them truly. And that's the only way you can help someone, by coming to them open-heartedly, loving. Love, love, love. That's it. Love. Christ love. The love that just should bring you to tears. Now, I'm connecting into that now, and I've got tears in my eyes, because if you see the beautiful holiness of your daughter, you won't see anything else. And everything is a call for love. So when your child has a meltdown and is diagnosed with a mental illness, forget about that. Don't respond. Just say, I am seeing a call for love. Literally, if you could see her screaming out, please love me. Please love me. That's all that's going on, is a call for love. Overlook anything else. Overlook the verbal abuse. You're to blame. You stuffed my life up. If you had been different, I would have been happy. Let all that go. Just see it all going over and hear a call for love. Please love me. Please just love me. And just respond from love. And that's the answer. And that's it. It's a very, very simple answer, but not always an easy thing to do. So I'm going to say goodbye here, and thank you for joining today, and thank you for the couple of people that joined in and asked those questions. So these are important, and believe me, I've had these questions so many times over the years, and it's always the same answer. Thank you, everyone. I love you, I bless you, and I honour you. And thanks to Regina and Dawn and everyone at Awakening Together for this beautiful communication device, the Awakening Together. Thank you. I'm deeply, deeply grateful. And I'm deeply grateful for everyone that's joined here today. And I love you. And if I can be of any help next week, come on. If you want to come on and ask any more questions, you're most welcome to come and ask any question you like. So thank you. I love you. Bless you.